You make sure everybody's there. This meeting is being recorded. Got it. All right, cool. Welcome back to the Video Game Clubs of America tabletop design series. My name is Max, and first off, I want to apologize for not being here yesterday. I had something come up that I had to deal with out of town, but I'm here, and I can reinforce whatever Micah went through yesterday. I understand there might be a couple questions. That's cool. I'm here for it. Before we get into what we're going to do today, I wanted to just review what I imagine Micah went over with you guys yesterday. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to hit your hand button or put something in the chat. If you want to talk, that's totally cool. Just let me know. Yesterday, I believe you guys were introduced to the concept of some different game mechanics, and you got a chance to play a new game. I think you guys played Love Letter. Is that right? You guys remember playing Love Letter through the weird .io website? I got a thumbs up out in Phoenixville. Cool. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So today's goal is to take some of what you learned yesterday and to start putting it into practice. All right. So I'm going to put something out in the chat. So if you are the person in charge of the Zoom, if you want to give that a clicky click, the document that I shared with you today is our first workshop challenge. All right. So the whole concept of what we're doing here this week is giving you the skills and the experience and the opportunity to design your own tabletop game. Now, I'm going to refer to it as tabletop game. I don't know if you've heard the term card game. Is that what you're printing over there, Micah?
Yeah, they just printed like a little D20. It's pretty
Excellent. So the reason I call it tabletop game is because if you ever hear something called a board game, it almost seems like there should be a board with it, like a big board that we all interact on. Love Letter doesn't have that. When you buy the game Love Letter, it comes with 16 cards and I believe something like 12 little cubes that you could 3D print in 5 seconds. That's it. And the box, like here's a game that I just got in the mail called The Feds. There's a box here. So the container for Love Letter is really just a little tiny bag with a string. It's one of the most portable games you could have, and it doesn't require a board. So for our challenge here, we're going to create a tabletop game, meaning we don't need a board. Right. So I see up in the upper right hand corner of my Google Doc, I've got a camel, a dingo, a dolphin, and a dragon. So I assume everybody is in and can check this out. All right. So our goal for today is to complete somewhere between 15 and 25 actual physical pieces of paper that we're going to call our prototype cards. The end goal for this challenge is to create a small footprint card game that doesn't have more than 30 cards. When I say small footprint, I mean it doesn't take up a lot of space on the table. Okay, like Love Letter, you could play on a train on the little tray that they put down, or on an airplane, or in the back seat of a car while someone else is driving, right? So small footprint doesn't take up a lot of space. You're going to need some stuff today. Hopefully you have access to some kind of paper. If you have index cards, those are ideal because they're a little bit thicker and they're easier to shuffle. But if you just have regular paper, we'll make it work. A pencil or a pen, something to write with. And then a little bit extra if you have a crayon, markers, something that, if you want to change colors, crayons work, markers work, colored pencils, things like that. The one thing I do want to interject before anything starts is, as a game designer, you have to think about certain limitations people have, and the limitations for, I see one more library just popped in, so I'm going to put that in the chat again. Some of the limitations gamers have include color blindness. And if a person looks at a red or a green, sometimes it doesn't look red or green. And as a game designer, we have to be aware of that. So a lot of times what people will do when they're using color to differentiate certain cards or certain things, they'll use shapes as well. So green can also be a star, blue could be a diamond, red could be a circle, yellow could be a triangle or something like that. So just something to be aware of. But if you have crayons and you want to use those for this challenge, dude, rock it out. That works. Right? If you have rulers, if you want to be, precise with lines, that's fine. You don't need them though. If you're using paper, you might want to use scissors to cut the cards out. That, you want to make them equal too in terms of size, as equal as you can. Okay, so that's the stuff we're going to need. We have 5 action steps that we're going to start with. All right, the first action you guys are going to do is a brainstorming activity. And you can write stuff down if you want for number 1, but you don't necessarily have to. You want to think about what kind of game you want to design. So as a question, and Micah, maybe you can help me out with this. Did you guys create a list of your favorites yesterday?
Yeah, I had to kind of just list stuff out.
Awesome. So like I think about with the students I have in my class, reverse here. I'm a high school teacher. I teach a game design class to high school kids. So you're getting a little bit of that. When my students have a hard time starting, I ask them, well, what do you like? What are your favorite things? And we'll list out like 5 things. And like my 5 favorite things were baseball, meatballs, Lego, Stranger Things, the TV show, and candles. I just listed random things that I like that I could try to make a game about. So step number 1, think about the list of favorites you made yesterday. All right. Try to follow one of those. Like for example, I don't like hockey. I'm not going to make a tabletop hockey game because I don't enjoy the theme. I don't enjoy it. And it's not going to be fun for me. At the end of the day, what we design should be fun for us. It might not be fun for everybody else, and that's okay. But you want to start with you, right? So that's action step number 1. Then number 2, here's where we get into the whole concept of design theory, right? How do you design a game? Amazingly, you design at the end. So how do you want the game to end? What's the winning condition? How do you win your game? I listed some examples there. So do you have a goal that everybody's racing to get to first? If you've ever played Settlers of Catan, or sometimes it's just called Catan or Catan, however you say it, it's a race to get to 10 points. And you've played Connect 4, it's a race to get 4 in a row. Tic-tac-toe it's a race to get 3 in a row, right? So do we have a goal that we're racing towards? Do you want to have a game where we just have the most points whenever the game ends? So Scrabble ends when we run out of tiles, whoever has the most points. Ticket to Ride is a train game that, whenever someone runs out of trains. And who knows when that is? That could be 15 turns. It could be 26 turns. We don't know. So whoever has the most points and however you calculate that, that's an ending condition. Do you want to defeat all your opponents? If you've played Risk is like a war game and you kill all the other people's armies. That's an end condition. Battleship, when you eliminate all of your opponent's ships from the water, that's an end condition. You're defeating your enemy. If you've played Uno, I assume everyone's played Uno. How do you win that game? You get rid of all your cards, right? Or you think of something on your own. You think of something like totally different out of the blue. That's cool too. I'm not here to tell you that you have to pick A, B, C, or D. I'm just here to tell you those are the easiest ones that I could think of. So that's what I went with. Okay, so after you think about how you want to end the game, now you think about how you want to start the game. And you can do one of 2 ways. In Uno, everybody gets 7 cards. Everything's the same for everybody. Or you make it different for everybody, but you try to make it equal. So the example I put up there, I had a game where I'm going to defeat all my enemies. One player is going to start with 10 hit points, an attack value of 4, and a defense value of 1. While somebody else has totally different numbers. 7 hit points, attack of 6, defense of 2. Now, all the numbers add up to 15, but people get different abilities to start with. That's totally viable as well. Or something totally different. Again, you're only limited by your own creativity. Okay. So how we start, how we begin. And once you get to that point, number 4, this is the meat and potatoes of game design. This is where you have to figure out what kind of mechanics do you want to use to bridge the beginning of the game to the end of the game. So in Love Letter, some of the mechanics that were involved were action and event. I play the Baron card. The event is, or the action is, I compare cards with someone and someone's going to get knocked out. I play the Prince card. The action or the event, someone else has to discard their card. There's also a little bit of take that involved, like boom, discard your card, take that. That's the 5th little mechanic idea I have there. I've listed a couple ideas that you can use. I spelled auctions wrong, but I'm going to fix that. So there are a number of different mechanics that, just to give you an idea, that doesn't make them right. It just makes them available to you. Okay. If you have any questions about these, you want to talk about them, by all means, either call out or just let me know when you guys get started. So once you have your ending, your beginning, and you think about how you want to bridge them, the big key for today is number 5. I want you to try to create the cards actually physically within, your universe in a piece of paper and draw it out. This, though, is where art doesn't matter. I don't want you to spend too much time drawing something super pretty only to find that the card is overpowered and you shouldn't use it, or you don't like just doesn't work, and you've spent all this time creating something that you're not going to use, right? In prototype design, it doesn't matter what it looks like. You're only testing the function of the components. You're not testing the aesthetic, or what it looks like, how pretty it is. Okay. Does that make sense? A little bit? So like if you're artistically inclined, or like you are just super great at drawing, that's cool. I'm just going to ask you to dial it back just a little bit. You can still make your cards look as awesome as you want. Not a problem. I just don't want you to waste time on a card that doesn't get used. Okay. So as far as theme and the story, I don't know how much Micah got into that with you yesterday, but the story of your game is going to be what we focus on once we get the mechanics hammered down. The story is the easy part. If you have a creative mind, that's going to flow like crazy once you have the game built. Trust me. All right. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want you to not think about it at all. So, like, for example, if I'm building a game about space, I can make spaceship cards, Martian cards, planet cards, comets, nebula, stuff like that. I'm probably not going to make, I don't know, shovel or baseball glove or strawberry shortcake, right? That doesn't make sense with space. So it's okay to think about the theme, but you don't have to worry too much about the story itself. Okay. As far as inspiration, I put 2 card examples down from 2 very different games, but you kind of see there's a similarity between Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, where the artists have given you a picture, a title, some symbols, and some text. You see that kind of framework in a lot of tabletop games, especially a lot of collectible card games. But again, today we're not going to worry too much about how pretty it is. I just want to worry about how functional it is. Right. So I'm going to put down, you have about between 25 and 35 minutes for this part. This is workshop number 1. Now, as I look around the different libraries here, I can see there are multiple humans in there, which is cool. The next step, once you have this done, your end goal today is to play your game. Now, I told you at the very beginning, the whole concept is to have no more than 30 cards. I only want you to make half of those now. Well, why? What does that mean? Well, your first test is not going to be a test of the whole game. It's just a test of one turn. And if one turn feels like it works, well then cool. You can go and build more cards if you feel you need to. If the one turn that you play kind of falls flat, it doesn't work for you. You don't like it. It's not fun. Well, then you've only built half the deck. You might have to start over. And that's what game design is. Game design is very similar to the writing process. If you've ever written a paragraph at school or an essay at school, you start with a rough draft, you look at it, you edit it, maybe something doesn't work, you go back and fix it, right? That's really what game design is. It's a process of let me build something and test it. I'll keep the good stuff and I'll throw the bad stuff away. All right. So I'd like you to build a couple cards that you can test with a friend or a couple friends. So out in Phoenixville, it looks like there's a large group, which is awesome. If you build a game that can play 3 or 4 players, maybe we group up a little bit with somebody else. If you're only making a 2-player game, that's okay too. But the more eyeballs you get on your game during the test phase, usually the better. Okay. So before I say go, start brainstorming and building. Does anybody anywhere have any questions about yesterday's session or what we're supposed to do here today? Out in Avalon, what's up?
Hold on, go ahead.
Are we going to be like making a game a day, or when are we going to like make the game we did in the first session?
Michael, what game did they make in the first session?
We brainstormed a lot yesterday here.
Okay, I mean that's the if you brainstormed yesterday, that you can start building it today. How many games we're going to make this week? My goal is 2. So the card game and then like your final challenge. And honestly, both games, you might not finish both of them. And that's okay. At least not this week. You can obviously keep working through your projects. And I'll tell you what, I will put I'll put my email out in the chat next week, 2 weeks down the line, 4 months down the line. If you're designing something and you have a question about something, by all means, have mom or dad or your librarian or a teacher, whoever you want to reach out to me. I'll answer any questions you want. I'll look at your stuff. I'll try to help you out as best I can. I will tell you up front, I've designed one game. Yeah, yesterday you missed out. Oh, I put the box away. I designed a baseball game with my dad. It's been published and people are playing it, but I'm self-admittedly not the end all be all star know-it-all of game design. I know the process. I know some of the pitfalls and I'm excited about it. I think it's a really great activity and hobby and business to get into. So that's why I'm here, trying to help you guys out to start out your journey. Okay, so if you started something yesterday, if you started your brainstorm yesterday, awesome. You can start building today. The goal is to build and to test with somebody else. I had this written down for, like I said, 25 to 35 minutes. So if you need help with the brainstorm or something, let me know and I'll try to walk through a little bit with you. If you have questions as we go along, just call out or you pop it in the chat, or I think you can, what is this reaction down here? Yeah. So you can like put your hand up like this. There's like a wave thing. I will raise hand. Ooh, there's that too. Lower hand. All kinds of cool little doodads down here in Zoom. You get my attention. Okay. Client's giving me a thumbs up. All right. So rock and roll, folks. I will set my handy dandy phone timer to 20 minutes, and I'll be like my cue to check in with you to see if you guys have any questions. All right. Rock and roll. Get to building or brainstorming, whatever you need to do. All right, what's that buzzer? That's just my 20-minute check-in. So I said a lot of you guys have been writing and drawing and doing cool stuff. Hopefully, I just want to reach out. Do you guys need anything? Like, hopefully you've gotten to the point where I'll go through the workshop list. Hopefully you've gotten action steps 1 and 2 done. Like, I know what kind of game I want, and I know how to win the game. And hopefully you got it started. How am I going to start the game? So thinking about what kind of mechanics you want to use to get from beginning to end. I just want to let you know if you have questions. This is kind of tough for me because I'm used to walking around my classroom and poking kids on the shoulder. Hey, you okay? You okay? I can't get from Phoenixville to Avalon. They're on different sides of the state. So if you have questions or want to shoot an idea by me or something like that, just want to let you know I'm here. It is 2:44. A goal for you by 3 o'clock, can you have something testable? Which means, do you have a physical thing that you can get together with a partner or a group and actually play it? So if you're at that point, like you have something and you're still waiting on some other people, the step that you could do is just to write down, what does a turn look like? And I want you to write it down only because you might forget it by tomorrow. So for my game, on your turn, you play a card, you do the action, and then you interact with a market. And what does a market look like, right? So step 1, read the card, play the card. Step 2, do what the market event says to do and things like that. And that also helps you teach the game, because when you get together with a group of other play testers, other people who are going to test your game with you, they're not going to know how to play, and you're going to have to teach them. So that short little turn guide will help you when you go to teach your game to somebody else. And again, it just has to be, a couple steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. Okay. So hopefully you're at a point where you can start thinking about testing. That's your 3 o'clock goal, to get with a group of other humans and have them play your game and for you to play their game. Okay. So again, I'm here. If you need me, feel free to yell out, excuse me, yell out, cough out, text out, raise your hand, do whatever here in the Zoom. But that's your 3 o'clock goal. Go to it.
I wasn't designing a game, but I was filling my time by
Oh, you're painting. Look at that, man.
little Hulk miniature right there. You can't really.
No, I see it. I got you. I was reading the rules a little bit here and reading the review. I do have a design idea, but it's more for later in the week because it involves dice. So I'll bring that up next All right, so it's about 10 after 3. Ding ding. Hey, just checking in again. Again, your goal hopefully is to get a turn played with another human. So if you're still working, no big rush. All right, just make sure you consider how much you're putting in before you test it. Okay, I see a lot of cool stuff going on. It looks like you guys are communicating and drawing awesome stuff. Keep it up. If you have anything you want to run by me, let me know. If you have any questions, I'm here. Again, your goal is to get everybody in the room to test their game, or at least like a round of it. All right. It is 10 after 3. I'm here for the next 50 minutes if you need me. So keep at it. Looks like you guys are doing good stuff.
All right, go ahead and ask your question.
You hear me?
I do. Rock and roll.
I have a question. So
Shoot.
what is the final stage of like this camp and the game designing
Well,
process?
so okay, so once we get through cards today, tomorrow the goal is that everyone will have gotten their testing done. And what you're going to discover, I assume, is that when you test your game, you found some things that just don't work, that just don't click, and that's okay, because there's a revision process then. So once we figure out, okay, this didn't work, we'll talk about how to patch things up and how to revise and test again. From there, we're talking about cards here. I'm going to incorporate dice as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about how dice add different mechanics to games as well. And your final challenge is to make a blended card / dice game. And again, there's no end goal, I think, for the camp itself, because I don't anticipate you're going to have 2 final products. Like, I am done by Friday. That's I think a goal that's really too far. I mean, to give you an idea, the game I designed was in development for 12 years. Now that's me. Again, I'm not the gold standard. There are people who are like really hard, heavy hitters in the industry that, it takes them a couple months. The 2 or 3 months of testing and refining, and they're putting hours a day into this. Like, it's their job. So it usually takes them a couple months. So I don't anticipate, any of the kids in my seminar or even my class when I teach them for a semester to get a final product out. Does that make sense? To answer your question? And my goal is that you're
I had
interested,
one. Okay.
you're having fun doing this, that you continue doing it beyond the tournament.
Someone steals from
Yeah.
my table.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was going to type it, but the more I started typing, the more I realized it's just going to be easier for me to talk. We're at the 15-minute mark too, by the way. So this is a good almost wrap up time. So Avalon experienced their first test, and they found some design flaws with having 16 cards being too easy to win. It's rare. I think when you test a turn to think what's too easy, a lot of times when you only build part of a system, you start realizing we need other systems in order to connect. So you're actually in a good place, I think, where it's too easy to win. I think it's easier to build obstacles to victory than it is to make things easier, because the risk then becomes, do you make it too easy? So when you go through your first test, and hopefully this applies to everybody if you've had a chance, when you go through your first test, when you discuss with other people, what went right, what went wrong, this is the part where you have to keep an open mind. And this is the toughest part of game design, having what I call thick skin. When people give you criticism about the game, you got to understand they're trying to help you with the game, and that's where good feedback comes in. Long time ago, I worked in multimedia, and if I was creating a graphic or a video animation or something like that, I remember I sometimes had a boss that would come down and look at it and say, "That looks bad," and then he'd leave. Like that's not constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is, "No, I don't like the way that color looks. Let's try something else." Like something like that. So feedback in game design, where it's too easy to win, let's try this, or this card is overpowered because it says you win, game over, right? And that's where becoming a designer and looking at other people's designs, you get a sense of how to give feedback as well, not just, I don't like this game. So, well, I don't like this part of it because, and you go from there. I'm glad you got a chance to play yours. In the last 15 minutes, does anybody want to kind of share out with the group and the idea they had, or some of the mechanics they're using? We use this the end of our session as a free share time. It's where you get some good ideas from people as well. And if not, that's okay too. But I like to hear where people's ideas took them.
We have someone who'd like to share.
Rock and roll, Phoenix. What do we got?
So my game is
Oh, there she is. Bottom corner.
My game's about going around the world with basically cards, and certain things happen in each country you go to, and you either get coins or lose coins.
Cool. That's a great. So that's an interesting theme. Around the world in 60 cards.
Yeah. I was gonna do all 200 something of them, but
You were gonna do how many?
all of them.
All the countries.
Oh, geez.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, with 30 cards, that's a little tougher.
All right. Did you want to share yours?
There's somebody else in Phoenix will have their hand up.
You can stay in here. You're good.
Yeah, I want to go.
You want to come too.
So my game is a knockoff Pokemon, where the first one to get to a legendary Pokemon wins. But if you have a legendary card, then you have to do something to claim it. If you have a legendary card, then you have to it has an action written on it, and only if you do that action and the other people like it, you can actually win.
Okay, what kind of action are we talking about here?
So there's 3 cards that are legendary. They're the win cards. One of them is you have to do 5 good jumping jacks. The other one is you have to do a good chicken dance. And then the other one is you have to act and then the other one is you have to act like a tiger.
Cool. I'll give you a little bit of my fair criticism. One, I love the idea. I think it's really cool. The only potential issue that I would consider running into if you and I were playing this and your win mechanic is I have to like something, I immediately don't like it.
No, like
If I have to do a jumping jack and you say it's not good, I'll never win. Or did I misunderstand what you're
honest,
going?
like if you're not honest, then you will automatically be disqualified.
Yeah, see, that's it happens in Love Letter. I don't know if you guys experienced this. Like I'm holding a card and it just happens to be the king card. And Micah asks me, "Are you the princess?" And I say no. And the next turn I draw a card and it just happens to be the princess. Yeah, honesty in games is super important. You run into like the opinion of other people, even if it's they're being honest. No, you don't sound like a tiger. I think that's a really cool idea, though. Like you're incorporating acting as a mechanic. That's a thing. Acting and singing are actually mechanics in games. I think that's really cool.
And there's also these cards if you want to like, so you have to evolve cards to turn them into legendaries. So there's this one, there's like, to evolve them, you have to give some of them, you have to give them food cards if you have food cards, if you give them the food cards. And then there's also cards that are like poison berries, which it throws your animal off track. And you have to do a 20-second dance to like make it back.
That's awesome. That's a really quick story. A long time ago, I played a game called, oh shoot, of course I'm not going to remember now. It was a blend of, and you kids might not remember this, but the librarians might. It was a blend of Quantum Leap and Groundhog Day, the movie. Quantum Leap, this guy would go from, year to year in his past, trying to fix things that went wrong. And then Groundhog Day is a movie where a guy played the same day over and over and over and over again. So this game was you actually playing. And the rules were really hard because I'd never played before. And the person teaching said, "I can't tell you how to play. We just have to start now." And we started with no concept of how to play, but we were part of the game. And it sounds like that's what you're actually creating. You have to do a dance. You have to act like a tiger. And that works really well with the right group. What I've discovered as a board gamer who's been on this planet for a few more years than you, sometimes gamers are like socially inward, and it takes a couple games to feel comfortable getting up and doing silly stuff. But if you're with a group of people your group of friends, awesome mechanic. It's super fun if people buy into it. Anybody else want to share either from Phoenixville again or anywhere else? Girl back there with as I point, like you guys know who I'm pointing to. Phoenixville again. What do you got with the?
There. I'm not in the way of the camera.
So my game's like.
Actually, honestly, is it cool? Can she come up to the mic?
Yeah,
It's easier
come
to
on.
hear her.
Okay.
That's seeing is one thing, hearing's another.
Yeah.
Because I'm old.
So my game's kind of like you kind of have like fun on this like game. Have like a dice and like you roll it. And, like there's like on the game board there's like these stars and like if you land on it, that's a card. And like on that card like you like there's like either something good or something bad. Like if it's good, like you like suppose like your parents got you a puppy. You get $20 in like the game. And the goal of the game is that if you get to like, the end of the game with the most money, you win. And there's also bad cards, like suppose it started to rain and you didn't have an umbrella, you lose $20.
Excuse me. So if you're the end of the goal of the game is to have the most money.
Yeah.
So here's a little twisty idea for you. You need to have the most money and the most happiness. Because when you said one of the cards, like a good card is to get a puppy, that would make me happy. But with the puppy, I got to buy him food. So I'm going to lose money on the puppy. That's I like the end game mechanic. I like having the most points, the most money makes sense, and having a situation where cards can be good or bad. That's great. Sometimes they can be good and bad, depending on what your end goal is. But that's cool. That's a interesting idea. Good deal. Thank you.
Thanks.
Last couple minutes. Anybody else? Avalon or Klein or Brandywine? If you guys want to share out, if not, that's cool. I hope your testing went well. Those of you who got a chance to build out, that's the challenge for today. Get to the point where you've tested. Tomorrow's little mini activity will be to synthesize feedback. What does that mean? Well, it means you're going to take all of the notes that people had for you, good, bad, indifferent, and we're going to use that to revise, revisit, and retest. That's going to be maybe the first half of our session. Second half of the session, we're going to talk a little bit about how dice are used. So that one young lady said, she has dice involved. We're going to talk a little bit about what dice do in a game. But strong games, so much fun playing. That's good. Right there, I mean, at the end of the day, games are not good or bad. They're fun or they're not fun. And what I like to see is people are having fun playing. When I first started testing my game, I felt bad sometimes badgering people into play testing over and over and over again, but that's kind of what you have to do, because I didn't know how much fun they were having. Some people get more into it than others. And some people just want to play actual games that have been made, and hey, this game is ready. Why are we playing your crummy prototype? But if you're having fun doing this, that sounds great to me. So that's good to hear. I don't know if you can hear upstairs. My daughter is doing jumping jacks. I think she's playing that young lady's game, trying to turn into a tiger. And as far as tomorrow goes, so what you're going to need for tomorrow is this prototype that you used. I'm gonna have another worksheet that your librarian or the director, whoever is there, is going to be able to get from our like a Google Doc. You're not necessarily going to need to print it out, but you're going to have to be able to write something. So just make sure you have some paper and a pencil or a pen for sure. It looks like you guys are set with that kind of stuff. And then I assume all of you have access to the iPads, right? Because there's going to be a way to roll dice tomorrow, but it's a website, just in case you don't have full of dice here with you. We have digital ways to do that. So all right, I'll tell you what, we're closing in on 4 on my end. Mike, do you have anything that you got to close out with?
No, I think that's it. If no one else has any questions, I think we're good for the day.
So tomorrow, first of all, thank you for popping in again. I appreciate your hard work today. Tomorrow, same bat time, same VGC channel here on Zoom. I will be here live and in living color. Until then, I will see you after later.
See you guys.